Hey there.
Hi, Chris. How are you today?
Doing good so far, yeah.
Awesome.
I got a nice setup today, put the plant in the background.
I see. Look at you. Look at you.
Yeah.
That's right. You're getting the hang of this virtual life, right? We got to have our background set up
Mhm.
no matter where we are.
I'm always watching, when people are on things. I'm like, what's on their bookshelf and, what's going on. So,
I'm
yeah.
the same way. I am the same way. That's why I said I go to the prettiest room in the house with my picture in the back, make sure it's visually appeasing for everyone.
Definitely.
Yes, yes. So I see we have, let me see, do we have one person on so far?
I think the one person was you to start. So,
Oh!
yeah. But we are going to, post this later. So,
Okay.
we can document it for the record. So we can give it, a few seconds, keep chit-chatting a little
Yes,
bit.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That sounds wonderful. And I guess while we're waiting for a few more people to hopefully come on, we are talking about doing some other virtual college prep sessions moving forward in the future, which is very exciting.
Yeah.
Scholarship, where we will have a scholarship session that we're going to be doing. And then also I'm going to be talking to some of my colleagues from 4-year colleges, 2-year colleges, as well as historically Black colleges to provide information about what is happening with college admissions right now. Because there's a lot that's changing, especially around COVID, and each college is different. So definitely look forward to that. We'll have a nice panel discussion to answer all your questions about what is currently happening with being admitted into these universities.
Yeah, definitely. It's such an uncertain time. So having somebody like you to, come on and provide us with information is like so great.
Oh, thank you. It's my
Yeah.
pleasure. It is my pleasure. I want to see all of our students succeed and take this knowledge and run with it. So it's absolutely my pleasure.
Yeah, I have it. We'll remind everybody at the end, but the next session that we're going to be doing is on January 16th. So another Saturday, same time, noon. That's going to be our scholarship opportunities. And that one is going to be on Zoom. So you're going to have to register in advance. So,
Yeah.
keep an eye out for that. We'll have more details posted, on our Instagram, probably on Aisha's Instagram. We'll definitely make sure we promote that so you don't miss it. All right. Well,
Great.
how about we get into our Q&A and start talking a little bit about the details of what to expect this year.
Absolutely. Sounds good to me. Let's dive in.
All right. Do we want to start with a listener question?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. I like this question because it kind of covers what we're here to talk about today, just in general. So our friend Zachary asked, are the SATs still happening this year and how do I take them? I think that's the crux of what we're talking about today. So
absolutely. So Zachary, thank you so much for that question. And the answer is yes, the SATs are still happening, but things are a little bit different now. The testing centers have to adhere to public health standards. That means, like we can't be close to each other. We have to be 6 feet apart. So that means less people can take the SAT than before. So each test center is different. There will be limited space, okay, for you to take the SAT, which means that it may fill up quickly. All right, but the testing is still going on. They're just letting a limited amount of people in to take the test. You can find out all of this information on collegeboard.org. Everybody should have a College Board account, right? Right. That's where we register to take our SATs. That's where we get college information as well as information on how to take the test. But College Board is actively working with the test centers to report whether or not certain test centers are going to be open. So that's another thing too. Not only is there going to be limited space to take the SAT now, right? But some test centers are closing. So depending on where you are, you want to check with collegeboard.org to get that information to make sure that your test center is even open. Okay? Let's say that your test center is not open, that you went to collegeboard.org. They have a really cool search engine where you can put your zip code in or your city. It shows you the different test centers, and it shows you whether or not that test center is open and receiving registration. Let's say that your test center is not open. The good thing is that many schools are now offering SAT school day. So you may want to check with your principal at your school or your counselor to see if your school is actually offering in-school SAT day. Because of the climate and what is happening with the test centers closing, some of your schools are actually offering that for you to take it in school. So definitely get in contact with your teacher, counselor, or principal to find out more information about that. And then also you can definitely log into collegeboard.org, and they have more information about that as well, as far as SAT school day.
That's some great information. I didn't realize that there was that kind of like flexibility happening.
Yes. And I was so happy, you know, when I did my research about this and talking to my colleagues, I was so happy to hear that there is flexibility, especially with some of the test centers closing. We want to make sure that regardless of what's happening, that our students are still able to take the ACT and the SAT.
Yeah. Well, thanks for giving us, because I know that this is a situation that's like kind of like changing day to day.
Yes.
So, you know, all of the information that we talk about today, it's possible that there could be a different situation tomorrow, right? Or in a couple of weeks. So definitely
And one of the things,
Board.
yes, check College Board. And also we're going to be dropping some great resources and great links, you know, in, I guess, in your blog or in your website, so that students are able to go and check back on all this information that we're giving you today. All right. So like Chris said, it changes every day. So you want to make sure that you are staying as abreast as possible.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. So that answers Zachary's question. So I don't know if you mentioned this when you were talking, but I think one of the things that people are really wondering about is it still, with all of these new restrictions in place and how difficult it might be to get in to take the SAT or the ACT this year, are schools still requiring it?
That is a good question. And some schools are requiring it, some colleges and universities, and some are not. So I want to kind of get into what test optional means, right? So some schools are not requiring it. That means test optional. So test optional colleges and universities, they let the students decide to submit their SAT scores with their application. So you get to decide whether or not you want to submit your SAT scores, right? But these colleges and universities, they'll consider other prevalent information in your application. So what does that mean? They're going to look closely at your essay. They're going to look closely at your recommendations. They're going to look closely at your grades, your coursework. They're going to look at that more closely than your test scores. Okay, so that's what that means by test optional. There are also some other colleges and universities that are test flexible. All right, so that's another vocabulary we're going to learn today. So test flexible means that students submit their test scores in place of the SAT and ACT. So what does that mean? That means that there are some students that may be international, right? And so with international students, they have a program called International Baccalaureate exam. So that's an exam that students take that it's like their high school diploma. So international students can submit that instead of SAT and SAT scores. Also, students can submit, U.S. students can submit SAT subject test. Some schools will let you do that, all right? Or advanced placement tests, depending on, you know, what major you are going after when you enter that university or when you register for that university. So just understand that there will be some schools that are test flexible, where you have to submit other tests and you don't have to submit the SAT or the ACT. Okay. Third vocabulary word, we have a test blind college. Now, I will give the disclaimer. This is few, far, and in between, okay? Mm-hmm. So these are schools that will not consider your test scores even if you submit them. And I will tell you, with me doing my research, this is few, far, and in between. But I wanted to make sure that students also understood that terminology just in case they ran across that. Test blind college. All right. Yeah. So just remember, if it is a test optional school, that they will be looking at other parts of your application more closely, okay, than your SAT or your ACT scores.
That's interesting. So I might be skipping ahead a little bit, but that means maybe like a reason that you what would be a reason that you would, if you're, you know, if your college is test optional, why would you want to submit your scores, or in what situations would you want to submit your scores?
Absolutely. So there are some colleges that require test scores for out-of-state or international students, and for students pursuing certain majors. So that's why you may want to submit your test scores, okay? Also, if you have, let me be real, if you have a great SAT score, so if you're in like the 85 percentile of your class, why would you not want to submit your SAT score? You want to make sure that you're able to stand out from the crowd, right? And so you submitting that test score and going over and beyond and taking the SAT will help you stand out from other candidates. So that's another reason why you should definitely consider submitting your SAT or your ACT scores, especially if you fall in a higher percentile. Also, there are some scholarships. So there are some scholarships that are available within that college or university, and they require that you submit your SAT scores in order to qualify for those scholarships. So, you know, a lot of merit scholarships are based off of that, right? They're based off of your grades, they're based off of your academics and your SAT and ACT scores. So if you're going out for a scholarship, you definitely want to make sure you submit those scores to qualify, hopefully.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. When I went to college, I received a scholarship that was specifically with regards to the writing portion of the SAT. So if I hadn't submitted my writing score, then I probably wouldn't have qualified for that scholarship. So
yes,
it makes
absolutely.
a lot of sense.
Yes.
All right.
I love these questions. I'm so happy that we're able to keep our students abreast and engaged. And like I said, this information, these links will be on to Phil Teen Center's resources. So make sure you tap back in after you watch this.
Yeah. And if anyone has any questions that we haven't answered yet or that you're curious about, you can go ahead and comment those. I'm going to be keeping an eye on that. So if you have a question that you want us to answer, we can do some, live Q&A, just like
Absolutely.
All right. So I think we've covered a little bit about, reasons why you might take the SAT, even if, it's not required by your school, reasons why you can submit that. Now, how do these policies, vary from college to college?
Oh, that's a great question. So they vary according to, so let me go back. Hold on. 1 second, make sure I'm giving you the right information.
Yeah, definitely.
What question are we on, Cruz? Sorry.
Number 3.
Okay. Yep. Let me make sure. My screen blanked out on me, so I want to make sure. So, colleges vary from policy to policy, depending on your status as a student. So, some colleges, like I said before, their request test scores if you're an international student. Okay. Some test optional schools may determine your test optional eligibility. They may use an index, such as like your GPA, your test scores, or your class rank. Okay. And then some may ask for additional materials instead of test scores. So for example, they may ask you to do scientific research, academic work, or additional recommendation letters. So each college and university, their policies are different. They're totally different. So I say that to say that you want to have a strong relationship with the admissions office at your college or university. Okay? Make sure you call, and if you have questions about, what are your policies around me applying to this college? What exactly do you need from me? It's better for you to get that answer from the admissions officer that actually works there than you trying to research it yourself. So definitely take your time to reach out to that admissions officer to get the information that you need. But as I stated, each college and circumstance is different, right? Some of them might require you, like I said, to have scientific research, recommendation letters, academic work, GPA, they might look at your GPA scores, your test scores, your class ranks. If you're an international student, some of them might ask for like the baccalaureate, international baccalaureate test that we talked about. So each college and university has its own set of policies that you definitely want to talk to the admissions officer about.
Yeah, like especially if you have your heart set on one school, you want to make sure that you do everything to, you know, make sure that you're adhering to like what they're expecting of you, so that you have the best for being
Absolutely.
there.
And
Yeah,
I will
definitely.
say too, most colleges are good at, if you go onto the college's website and how to apply and requirements to apply, they're pretty good at listing out exactly what you need to apply, you know, on their website. So you can grab that information from Temple University's website or Drexel University. But like I said, safe is better than sorry, especially with everything that's going on. So make sure you take that extra step to actually email the office, the admissions office, to ask them if they require any additional information due to COVID-19.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We have some questions in the chat from our friend Zachary. Actually, Zachary, earlier in the session, we answered your question about if the SATs are happening this year and how that's so definitely check out the archive footage. We can give you kind of like the synopsis of it, which is that in-person testing, as of right now, and everything is subject to change, is still happening in limited capacities. There might be less testing sites, definitely going to be more space in the testing sites, so not everybody crammed into little classrooms. So it's definitely not quite as available as it has been possibly in the past. But we answered that question in full a little bit earlier in the session. So definitely check that out. All right.
Yes. And I would say, Zachary, definitely go to collegeboard.org. They give you all the information too, as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Zachary has another question. He says, do you think the IB, that's the International Baccalaureate, is that what that's?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you think the IB track is better than AP?
I don't
AP
think
classes?
one track is better than the other. I think it goes according to what the college requires and what your strongest test score is. So it's a combination. It's what the colleges accept. So you want to make sure that they accept either or. And if you have, let's say, if you have done IB or AP and you've scored higher on one than the other, then you can submit that information to the college or university. But honestly, one is not better than the other. It really isn't. It goes according to what the college requires, and it goes according to, like I said, the performance that you have on each of those tests. Yes. So, and if you knocked it out the park with both, if you were that student that you've actually taken AB classes and AP classes and you knocked it out the park with both, submit all of that information, because it's only going to make you stand out more than the other students that are applying to that same college or university.
Yeah, I think that's like kind of like a general rule. If it looks good for you, then submit it.
That's it. That's it. Exactly.
All right. Well, let's get back into our questions that we put together, Aisha. So here's something. Since so many colleges are being more flexible this year with their admissions requirements, is it going to be easier to get into college this year?
No. And that's a question that I get all the time too. And I hate to break hearts, and people are like, really? But yeah, really. No, it will not. Okay. University officials anticipate that admissions will be just as competitive, or if not more competitive, than the past years. Okay. Right. So I want to give you a statistic that I looked up, and I was totally shocked about this when I saw it. Okay. So it's an overall trend that some selective schools keep lowering their acceptance rates, right? So that means they're only accepting a certain amount of students. In 2006, the top 10 schools, they had an acceptance rate of 16%. 2018, their acceptance rate is only 6.4.
Wow.
Yes. So it's becoming more and more competitive to get into the college and universities that you want to get into. Okay. So I'm not saying that to scare you or deter you. I'm just giving you the facts that it's better for you at this point in time to take the ACT and take the SAT and see how you do, because it will give you a leg up on other students that did not during this time period.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty Pretty shocking. That's a 10% drop, and yeah.
It is. And like I said, giving the current climate, it's imperative that you provide as much information as possible. So that means your ACT or your SAT scores. That means that which is included in your academics, right? That means your extracurricular activities, right? It's very imperative that you provide as much as I would say a well-rounded portfolio for that college to look at, to consider you.
Right.
Yeah.
And not just for admissions, but like you said, for scholarship opportunities as well. We want to make sure that, all of our teens are getting the money that they need to, be able to go to school. So yeah, definitely.
That's it. Absolutely.
Cool.
Yes.
We have Zoe in the chat who, I think this is more of like an anecdote than a question, but who took the SATs in September because the session that they were going to take in August was canceled. Everyone wore masks and the temperatures were, or the windows were kept open. Yep. There were temperature checks and everyone had to stay in the seat where they were assigned. So that's some, some anecdotal information from what's happening when people are taking.
Thank you so much for that information. And it gives people, it gives students a heads up on what to expect, right? When you walk in, things are going to be different now. So thank you so much for providing that information. Yes, you will have to have temperature checks. You will have to wear masks. The windows will be open and things will just be different. There'll be hand sanitizer, wiping down desks. College Board and the testing centers understand that your health is their utmost priority, right? They don't want anyone getting sick. So they're going to take the time to make sure that you're healthy while taking this test.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad to hear that, Zoe felt very safe when they were taking the SAT. And especially because, things are so uncertain. And I'm just imagining, it's been a minute since I took the SATs, but all the nerves, like when you go in to take that test, and now I just have, so much, I feel so much for our teens because there's like this added stress now of like all of these health risks. And it's like, you're already so stressed out about this test, right?
Yes.
And, people put so much weight on, is this going to determine my future, right? And now you have this health component added to it and all those risks. So
I know.
I definitely feel for everybody right now.
I do too. But thank you so much, Zoe, for that information. And like I said, just hopefully that'll alleviate some nerves, that you understand that that they are taking measures to make you as safe as possible while taking this test. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. We'll keep moving along with our questions. So, we've talked about this a little bit, but I think definitely good idea to spell it out. Yeah. So is it going to hurt someone's chances of getting into the college of their choice if they don't take the SAT or the ACT, even if their college is test optional?
That's a great question. And we did tap into this before. So like I said, colleges want as much information as possible. Okay. So even without test scores, it's likely that other parts of your application, like grades, essays, extracurricular activities, and achievements, those have to be strong enough to admit into the college that you want to go into. But the more information, the better. So I would say for this question, dive in and take the SAT, take the ACT, put your mask on, get mentally ready, utilize the resources to study. Okay, it's better for them to have more information about you than to have limited information about you. Okay, so I would say make sure you take it because colleges want as much information on you as possible.
All right. And on the same topic, so, we decide to take the ACT or the SAT. Should I admit that with my admissions package? Should I submit that even if the college is test optional? Let's talk a little bit about.
Absolutely. So I would say it depends on how you do. Okay. So that's why I say take it. Of course, prepare. You want to prepare and take it and see how you do. Okay. If your scores are at least 25 at the 25 percentile for admitted students in your that college or university that you're interested in. Okay. So I'll stop there. How do I find out that information? If you go onto that college or university's website, they will spell out the SAT or ACT score they are looking for students to be admitted into that college. Okay, so they're going to provide you with that information. If your ACT or SAT score falls within that, definitely submit it. Absolutely submit it, I would say. Okay. If your test scores, you did really poorly, and that's okay, but you have other factors that you want to submit, like you have strong extracurricular activities, you have very strong grades. Let's say if it's a college where we talked about this before, they may ask you to do like a special project, or they may require AP classes, right, in order for you to get into that college. If you're able to provide strong information about who you are as a student outside of your SATs and you didn't do well, that's more than fine. I would say submit that information, okay? But if you take the ACT or SAT and you do well, absolutely submit it. If you didn't do well, I would say submit your other information as long as it's strong enough to make you stand out, okay? You might want to take a second chance at it too. Because you can take the SAT more than once, okay? So I don't want you to get discouraged if you take it and you don't score within that percentile that college is looking for, okay? You can take the ACT or SAT again, all right? And 9 times out of 10, you will do better if you take it again because you've gotten the nerves out, right, Chris? You already know what to expect. They give you a report on what you did not do well in, so you can focus on those areas. Let's say, for example, you didn't do well in math. You can focus on those areas and bring those areas up and take the test again. Yeah. And then submit your scores with the rest of your package, your application. So I would say dive in and do it again if you did not get the SAT scores that you wanted. Okay.
I always recommend that because for myself personally, I actually took the SAT 3 times. I was really fortunate in that my college counselor was giving me waivers, so I wasn't having to pay to take the SAT test. But I took it 3 times and most of my scores improved each time. And on the second test, I actually got a perfect score on writing. And is it still the case that they add, they take the highest of each test? So
that is the case. Yes. So like Chris was saying, I'm glad you pointed that out. So if you take the SAT the first time, and let's say that you got a really high score on math and you didn't do so well in English, and then you take it the second time and it's kind of like the opposite, right? So you did well in English, but you maybe scored a little bit lower in the math. That's okay. Guess what? They're going to take that high math score from the first SAT and then the high, let's say English from the second SAT and add it together. That's it. So it's not like you're losing anything, which is a great thing. And here's my SAT knowledge coming out. You are not penalized for guessing. You guys have it good. When Chris and I took the SAT, if you guessed wrong, guess what? They took points off. You guys are lucky where if you take an educated guess, they won't take any points off if you get it wrong. And if you get it right, they add points onto your score.
Yeah. See, so, we're teaching you how to game the system here, right?
Hello.
We make it work for us. So if you're able to take the test more than once, because, it's just, everything's about increasing your chances, right? Like the more information, the more good information that you turn in, the higher your chances of getting into the school.
That's it.
The more times the SAT, that you take the SAT, the higher chances that you get higher scores. We're just game the system.
Game the system. That's it. That's it. Yeah. And get those waivers so that you don't have to pay for it.
I thought one statistic that you listed here in our notes, Aisha, was interesting to me, that approximately 80% of students who apply to test optional schools still submit their scores.
Yes. Yeah. And you know why? Because it goes back to the fact that they understand how competitive it is to get into certain schools and universities now. And at the end of the day, you want to make sure you stand out as best as possible from the other students that are applying for that same college or university. So I would say even if you have it in your mind, like, oh, this school says it's test optional, so I'm just not going to do it. Challenge yourself. It will help build your character, number one, right? As a student, that you've challenged yourself to take on this regardless of what's happening. And then number two, you're able to submit those scores with your SAT and ACT. All right.
I did want to touch on one more thing I saw here. What happens if, a student isn't able to take the SAT or the ACT because of health and safety concerns? Like maybe you know, maybe somebody in their household is immunocompromised or elderly, and they don't want to, you know, risk going out and then bringing, something back to their family. Like, what would we do in that situation?
So if you haven't been able to take the ACT or SAT, like Chris said, because someone in your family may have COVID, or you may have been recovered from COVID, you do not have to worry about submitting your scores. You just have to be prepared to elaborate on why you were unable to take the ACT and SAT in your application. Okay, so that is something that you definitely you may want to include a letter in your application explaining your status, you know, whether your family was directly affected by it or you were affected by it, that you tell that college or university and explain your circumstances. But if that's the case, you do not have to submit your test scores.
Cool. All right. Yeah, definitely wanted to make sure we touched on that. So
absolutely.
All righty. I think we talked about this a little bit too, but talking about scholarships and things like that, are there any other things that we should consider with test optional colleges?
Yes. So many test optional colleges look at test scores for awarding merit scholarships, like we talked about before. So not submitting your test scores, that ACT or SAT score, may put you at a disadvantage to get that scholarship than the other student who did submit their test scores, their standardized test scores, okay? You want to be sure to confirm the scholarship requirements, of course, before applying, okay? So like I said, that goes back to making sure that you have a strong relationship with that college university, that admissions office, okay? And that you look at the requirements of that merit scholarship to make sure you fit into it. But I will tell you guys, they are looking at your ACT and SAT scores when they are divvying up these merit scholarships. They're looking at who's going over and beyond and who is not. Yeah.
Alrighty, so we talked a little bit about collegeboard.org. What are some other places where we can go to find out which colleges are test optional, and maybe to keep checking for updates, because as we know, everything's changing.
Everything changes day to day. So if you want a list of exactly what accredited college and universities are testing optional, you want to go to FairTest.org. Okay, FairTest.org. FairTest.org, they have a plethora of information regarding what colleges are test optional or not. And like I said, that can change on a day-to-day basis. So you want to make sure you go on there. It's credible, okay? And just check to see if that college or university that you're interested in is on that list, okay? Of course, you want to go to collegeboard.org like Chris talked about. You can also check directly with ACT.org. Khan Academy, okay? So I don't know if you guys know Khan Academy. Khan Academy is in partnership with the SAT, with College Board, right? And they are the ones that administer the SAT. So they will have direct information on their website too about changes with COVID and the SAT and college optional. So make sure you check with those resources. And we'll definitely, like I said, we're going to archive this, and we're going to make sure that we put these links, have these links available for you to access as well after this workshop.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Right before we went live, I was checking out fairtest.org because I was kind of just curious about maybe some of our local schools and thinking about what the list is currently like. So you can go on fairtest.org under the tab College Admissions and Optional List. And that you can do a little Control F, just type in Philadelphia and see what the local schools are doing, search in page for the specific university that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And it has links to all of those schools as well, so you can go directly to their page. That's a really great resource.
That is a very good resource. And like we talked about before, you definitely want to make sure that you utilize that college's or university's website to find out information that you need as well. On what do they need for you to submit with your application? Like we talked about, are they a testing optional school? What does that look like? What are their requirements for their merit scholarships? What is the median score for SAT? For meaning, what is the lowest score, the middle score that they'll take for a student to get into their college or university. You want all of this information. It's data, it's information that you want to be able to get directly from that college or university so that you're able to submit that package accurately, right? And give them exactly what they need. And it increases your chances of getting into that college or university.
Yeah, definitely. Game the
Yeah.
system.
Yes.
Well, I
Yes.
think this has been really helpful for, for our teens to kind of get an idea of what's going on specifically with the pandemic. I think we've kind of made the case that, if you're able to
Yes.
try and take the SAT.
Take it. If you are able to, I would say the only reason why you are not able to, of like we talked about, is that you were directly affected by COVID-19 or your family, you have a special circumstance where you're not able to do that. But if you do not fall into that circumstance, take your standardized test, okay? It will only help you stand out from the other candidates that are applying to those same colleges and universities. Definitely do it.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely, so since we're talking, about encouraging people to do this, I definitely want to highlight one of the free libraries resources that is free with your library card. Normally in the Field Teen Center, every few Saturdays we will be having an in-person SAT prep class. And because of the pandemic, we're not able to do that. But we do have an online resource that I would definitely recommend folks checking out on our website, freelibrary.org. If you look at it's called Homework Help Online, and it's powered by tutor.com. And they actually have live tutors that you can connect with. And there's SAT, ACT. There's actually a whole slew of, options that you can look through if you need help with your math homework. They even do review.
That's amazing.
It's really amazing. You can even submit like your college essay, and in a couple of days turnaround, somebody will review your college essay for you and give you feedback on it. So, while we're not able to necessarily provide an in-person experience right now, if you're, not sick of looking at your screens, this is an opportunity for you to get a little bit of tutoring online. So it's a really fun resource. I've even seen people working on like math homework, and the tutor can like draw on graphs for you and really show you the whole. Yeah, it's really incredible.
Take advantage, students. Take advantage of these free resources that are in front of you. That is absolutely amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like I said, for that, all you need is your library card. And if you've forgotten your library card, if you lost it somewhere, if you don't remember your PIN number, just DM us, email us, whatever, just get in contact with us. And the Teen Center can help you get reconnected to that information, because we want all of our students and all of our teens to be able to utilize these resources and to, give them the best opportunity to do well on this test and to get into the college that they want to get into, and to get that money from those scholarships.
Get those, absolutely, absolutely, yes, because I always tell my students, taking the ACT and the SAT is where your scholarship money starts. It's one, of course, there's other money out there. If you're an athlete, you can get scholarships. If you have a special talent, you can get a scholarship, right? If you have financial need. But it's nothing like starting with what you already have to work with, and that's you being an excellent academic student, putting your best foot forward and making sure that you try to qualify for as many merit scholarships as possible. And that means making sure that you take the SAT and ACT, and making sure that you utilize that free resource that Chris was talking about to help you with your math homework and help you with your college essays, so that you're able to put your best foot forward. That's amazing. Yeah.
If you go to the freelibrary.org website, just, little search in page for Homework Help Online. It's in the big orange box, Homework Help Online. Yeah, and you can create an account on tutor.com if you're going to be utilizing it, for a few times. If there's a takeaway from today, definitely utilize that.
Utilize that. That's it. Definitely utilize the resources that we'll be providing from this workshop as well, for updates, continuous updates on whether your test center is closed, whether your school has SAT school days like we talked about earlier. Make sure you log into this and look at the very beginning of the workshop. We talked about that. Whether or not the college or university that you're interested in is a testing optional school. Okay. All of those resources definitely will be dropped with the Field Teen Center. So definitely take advantage of it.
Awesome.
Yes.
Another takeaway we definitely want to make sure people get
Yes.
today is that we're going to be doing another information session for folks in January 16th, 2021, when 2020 will be over.
Oh,
So that'll be good news.
Yes.
And we're going to be doing an online workshop on Zoom about scholarship opportunities. So for that one, you are going to have to register in advance. So just reach out to us. You can DM us here on Instagram. You can email us at teencenter@freelibrary.org. And we're going to be, talking about scholarship opportunities and giving everybody information about ways to get that money.
My favorite, guys, you don't want to miss this one because this is actually one of my favorite topics to teach. So, and I have a plethora of information. And like I said, we're at the perfect time now. Think about this. We're doing things virtually. We're more at home. We're homeschooling. This is the perfect time for you to apply for scholarships because you're already at home and you're already in front of your computer. Yeah. Why not apply some of that knowledge and apply for scholarships online and try to accumulate as much free money as possible? So I'm excited to talk about that on January the 16th.
Yep. And we'll have more details on that to come.
Yes.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much, Aisha, for joining us today. If you have any follow-up questions that you want to send to the Teen Center or to Aisha, you can, get in contact with us both. We're on Instagram is at FLP Teen Center, and Aisha's from the Alexander Advantage, also on Instagram. And I mean, you're the expert, you're the source. So we got to utilize all the resources that we have. And Aisha is definitely one of our.
Oh, thank you so much, Chris. It is absolutely my pleasure. I want to see your students succeed. I want to see all of our students succeed. And any way that I can possibly help do that, you know that I have your back. So I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, we'll be back again, like we said, on January 16th. So just look out for more details about that. And I guess we'll call it here.
All right, guys.
All right.
Have a great weekend.
Yes, weekend. See you later.